Welcome to another episode of the Online Prosperity Experience podcast. You're about to hear your host, Prosper Taravinga's powerful digital marketing strategies and actionable tactics that you can use right now. Prosper has helped more than 50,000 people from over 10 countries to create meaningful businesses that are profitable and enjoyable. Listen to this podcast so that you too can build your own business with less stress and overwhelm. Let's get started.
There's no single recipe for success as a freelancer, coach, consultant, or small to medium business. Now, this is episode number 3 in season 5 of the Online Prosperity Experience. And this episode before this, I'd like to, maybe apologize, but not so much. I got a few comments back from people saying, that episode, touched on a few things. It ruffled my feathers. And I'm just like, wait a minute. What part? And they're like, people define success in a different way. Not everyone has the same resources as you. So if you haven't checked out the episode, it's an episode where I'm talking about put your best foot forward. I think I'm talking about, always be giving out your best work. Check it out. It's episode number 2, season 5. But today we're going to be talking about, hey, listen, man, there's no single recipe to success. You want to define what success means for you. So as a coach or consultant, what actually means that you've been successful? Have you arrived at the goals that you set out for yourself? You know what I mean? And that's how you need to define success, not predicated on what you heard on a podcast or what you saw on a postcard or what you read in a blog. See, as a coach, consultant, freelancer, entrepreneur, small to medium business, it's only natural that you want to follow maybe the lives and the careers of others in your field, particularly those who have done exceptionally well, as a cop-out, so that you just copy what they have done and get the results that they have achieved. But I'd like to say that once you reach a certain level in your life, with your business or anything of note, you now want to start paving your own path. That way, when you do arrive and you do get the result that's at the end of the long road, you are happy with what you have achieved. Right. It's still recent in people's minds, depending on the time you're listening to this. The Queen has died, right? And she died at 96 years of age. Now, can you imagine if she decided at age 30 that she didn't want to be a queen, she didn't want to be involved in anything to do with the royal family, and she had to live through all that gruesome 60 years of being the queen, doing stuff that she doesn't want in public? That's a success. Everybody would want to be the queen. But if she was internally not happy with that outcome, has she been a success? So you really want to define what success means for you and follow that path so that at the end of the road, you are not faced with regret, with remorse of having wanted to do something and yet you've got different results. You see, I do that myself as well. I watch other coaches and consultants, other web designers, other small to medium businesses who appear to be a little bit more successful than I am. I mean, within your age range there, there's people like Grant Cardone, there's people like, Gary Vee, there's people like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, all those people that are in the public eye, that are doing great stuff, people like Seth Godin, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, why invent mediocrity when you can copy genius? That's what somebody would say, all right? And it makes good business sense to track the success that others have had and then learn from it. Because I believe in life, we're here to live, to learn, and to contribute, all right? We are here to live our best lives. And for us to be able to do that, we need to learn how to do that, okay? Our health, our wealth, our finances, our relationships, All those things, we need to make sure that they're all firing on all cylinders. But how then do you know that you're doing right if there's no benchmarks or reference points out there of people that have achieved that which you want? Okay, so yes, you might argue and say, yes, it's wise to see what other people have done and then just copy that. However, there's actually a difference between maybe, conducting some careful business intelligence and trying to make somebody else's dream your own. You do not have the resources that they have. You do not have the capability that they have. You do not have the mindset that they have. You do not have the family that they have. You do not have the goals that they have. So yes, you can learn from people, but you don't want to emulate just about everything else and end up with results that you don't absolutely want. And in particular, I want you to watch out for folks, especially those gurus that are from the Guru Casino, Guru University, who offer to teach you how to follow their exact footsteps and then automatically become as successful as they are. How are you going to be measuring that success? Is that from money? Are you measuring it from recognition and influence? Are you measuring that success from making a world a better place? Are you measuring that success from having time as opposed to just having to work all the time? Are you, especially when you're talking about time, do you actually have freedom to do that which you want? Do you actually have the self-worth of enjoying that which you now have? And do you absolutely love what you're doing? And do you actually do work that matters? Because if you're looking at all the people that are already succeeding in what they are doing, we're only seeing the surface. We're not seeing the back end of how it actually works. So many people, especially me being a digital marketer, I see the back end of a lot more businesses than you would ever come across in your entire life. And guess what I see? There's a lot of mediocrity behind the scenes. There's a lot of people that are public successes, yet they are, private, failures. And especially people that say, follow how they've done X, Y, and Z. If you look maybe at their money, if you look at their family, their relationships, they're probably on their third marriage. Is that something that you want? Is that your definition of success? It doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. Some ingredients for success are different for each and every person out there. And there's no secret recipe that anyone can follow. You want to know who you want to become and be happy with that journey. Because if you're not going to be committed to that journey, then you're not going to get the results that you absolutely want. Then you've just wasted everybody else's time, including your own. The truth is, any given success recipe, yes, is unique. It's unique only to the person who's being successful selling it to you, not for your own, benefit. Because I was teaching this to my little girl the other day, and then I was like, yes, other people are going to be good at maths. Other people are going to be good at English. You can't be good at just about everything else. If you look at your hand from the back, all right, the back of your hand, and look at your fingers. No two fingers on the same hand are of the same height. And I'm saying this with utmost love and respect, just in case you don't have fingers. But I'm just saying, like, in a general sense, no two fingers of the same hand are of the same height. So what does that mean? What does that tell you? It tells you each and every one of us is here to serve a different purpose, is here to serve a different function. So your consulting, your training, your information, your expertise, your paid speaking gigs doesn't have to be a mirror image of something that people have seen before. Otherwise, why are people paying you? Because all the stuff, all the information that we now have as thought leaders, as consultants, as coaches, can be indexed on Google. It is there. People want to learn from you, your experiences, your life story, what makes you unique, and your goals, your aspirations. Every one of us has got unique aspirations. That's what people want to hear, so they can calibrate their own journey, based on best practices. I mean, I've built my own career in a way that is totally unique to me. I've got a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old. I got to work around them. You probably don't have kids right now, or your kids are older, or your kids are younger. So that's already a unique factor. So if I say I show up on my podcast every single day at 2 p.m., it's because I know I've got my kids in check and none of them are going to be yelling at the back of the podcast so you can hear the noise behind it. I've done it in ways that work for me. I've done it in ways that make sense to what I'm putting out there. I maximize my gifts in certain areas, which I know I'm capable of putting stuff out there. And I actually work with people that I understand and know that I can bring the best out of them. And usually these people also have that inclination that, oh my God, this is exactly the best, place for me to be working. I always look for ways to maybe overcome my weaknesses and put people that can, amplify those weaknesses with their own strengths in whatever areas within my business. And my character is well suited in certain ways of promoting my business. Like this podcast right now, I can't write because obviously English is not my first language. And even though that's a limiting factor, what I then do is go on a podcast and actually, speak. All right. And this podcast is then transcribed into a blog, and the content that you get to see, my emails and everything else that comes along with others. For some people, it's impossible for them to do this. Even though I can speak, I can't be on video. There's a difference between right now I'm speaking, right? There's so much that's happening. I might just burst into laughing, but on a video, it's a different feel when I just start laughing with no context. So I'm not really good at video, but I'm good at a podcast. Yeah. So my values are also different to those of other people. And I'm not saying they're better, but they're different. And your values might be different, especially these days where there's this whole woke culture coming out. And if you just want to virtue signal just anything that comes your way, just because it's the new flavor of the month, guess what's going to happen? Those people are going to bring you down and they're going to beat you with experience. You know why? Because they've been playing this game longer than you have. So you need to figure out what your hopes and dreams are and spend the rest of your life following them. I have a dream for my future that is so unique to my own life and circumstances. Having come from Africa, having come from the situation that I came from, it's totally different to somebody who was born in the first world. And my vision for how things can unfold over the next month or years, it has come, is built from my accumulated experiences as a coach, as a digital marketer over the last 10 years. If I were to analyze what I do and then publish my own recipe for success, there's certainly no guarantee that it's going to work for anybody else. And I'm not saying that I can't publish some sort of guidelines and best practices based on my own experiences and successes as a coach or as a digital marketer. I mean, I've done that, and I believe they're genuinely useful, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to take them verbatim because you don't have the scenario that I have. You don't have the office that I have. You don't have the team that I have. You don't have the connections that I have. You don't have the partners that I have. You don't have the access that I have to certain people, books, influences and coaching and all that stuff. That's what makes you different because I don't have access to what you've got access to. But if I were to tell you that, you can achieve exactly that which I've achieved in the exact same way that I've achieved it, that would be less than honest. Because the things that are motivating me might be different to the things that motivate you. And when I see some marketers making wild promises to people and just starting out as a coach or consultant and telling them just to follow this one-size-fits-all success recipe, I think that is less than honest too. So how can you figure out this whole success, make sure that you're on the right path? How can you separate maybe this factual advice from subjective advice? This is something that you do every single day. When you're going to a destination or you're going somewhere, the first thing that you do when you get into your car is put the address of where you're going first. You don't put the address of where you are, you put the address of where you're going. And then the GPS self-navigates to where you are, and then you can start following the GPS. I'm not really good at following the GPS. You should have seen me on Friday. I was just doing all these crazy turns, and I could look and see my wife, being annoyed with me taking a long route to, taking an hour to drive to a place where we could have drove for 45 minutes. But when you've got the GPS, no matter how much you get lost, you will still go back to where you wanted to end up in the first place. All right. I mean, look at another example. I mean, if I were to advise you to pay more attention to, say, what can we talk about? Maybe social media. First of all, I'm not even on social media myself. All right. And if somebody tells you, okay, right, maybe social media is the way to go, it's probably because it's working for them to get to you. All right. And that's pretty good advice for most coaches and consultants. And there's a ton of studies and reports that I could turn to support the fact that social media works. And social media engagement has become maybe a best practice for some coaches or consultants out there. But let me tell you something. I don't use it because I don't believe in what social media has become. It's become a tool to socially engineer, the masses. But that's a story for another day. So that's why I don't engage in. My values do not operate in a social media space. I used to be really good at it, but now not anymore. And if I were to tell you that and then automatically you stop doing social media, that could ruin your business. But I'm not telling you that instead of social media, I'm doing this podcast every single day to connect with my audience. I've got a thriving community. I've got a thriving email marketing set up. We've got really good marketing. We've got really good SEO. And what if I were to tell you to maybe focus on Twitter more than any other social media site? In Australia, it doesn't work. In America, it does well. And that's subjective. So it would be part of my success recipe not to engage in social media, right? But it may not be part of yours because your character, your style might be better suited to maybe creating TikTok videos and publishing them on YouTube. Whatever it is they're doing these days, reels or whatever. So the next time you listen to some guru, tell you that success is just maybe 5 steps, 6 proven steps away, be very careful. Pause and think. Think about whether those steps are genuine best practices suitable for everyone, or whether some or all of them might actually work great for the guru, but wouldn't work for you. All right? Because when people are telling you stuff, it's only worked on them and a select few. Would it work for you? Is that your success, goal? The bottom line is there's no single success recipe. All right. First, you want to build a foundation of what it is that you want, okay, where you want to go and find what are the proven best practices as a point of reference, and then add on your unique mix of herbs and spices and seasoning just so that it works for you. There's so many ways to skin a cat. And as I've mentioned in this podcast, I want to say this with utmost love and respect. I'm not saying that I can't publish some guidelines or some best practices based on my own experiences and success as a digital marketer. I've done that. And I believe they're genuinely useful. Okay? What I'm just saying is you pave your own path. Choose your own definition of what success means to you. According to you, what actually makes an entrepreneur successful? There are a few metrics that you can measure yourself against. Maybe we can go through those so that you can see how you're measuring against other people. The entrepreneurial spirit. The reason why we become entrepreneurs is because half of the time we yearn for a lot more things than what a normal job would give us. It actually drives people to do incredible things, build amazing products and things, of a legend. We're out here solving huge problems and changing the world. But what actually makes an entrepreneur successful? That's where a lot of people disagree. You know why? As I said in that example, no two fingers on the same hand are of the same height. So success is different depending on the person or the values that person has. Your reason for maybe starting your coaching, your consulting business is different from anybody else in the industry. So when you define success, it comes down to asking the question, what actually motivated you when you decided to jump in with both feet? What is the one thing that got you started? And once you've got that answer, use that as your guiding light. Like I said, when you're going somewhere else, you put the address of the destination in the GPS. And if you feel like you've wandered the path, or you've wandered off the path, it's maybe time to do some self-reflection and define what success actually means for you, because this is what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. All right? So if you got into it because of money, maybe you've gotten out the money and you've lost the zeal of actually running the business. Because when you hear the most successful entrepreneurs, they talk about money, right? How much they've made, what revenue they're making. You almost hear what it is that got them started. But when you hear most successful entrepreneurs talk about what they value the most, you will almost never hear them say money. They probably find it, cliche to even suggest that this could have been a motivating factor. But chances are, they did, indeed get into business for money, at least at first when they started. And once you've got it, you no longer have to worry about it, and your goals can turn, into bigger goals that would actually make a difference or a dent in the world. But until you have the money, you don't have the freedom to enjoy all the other things that entrepreneurs, enjoy, like the holidays, the luxuries, all of those things. Because money creates time. It frees up your mind. It allows you to go wherever and do whatever you want with whomever you want. It gives you choices. And it's the key to, the other benefits of being an entrepreneur. And until you hit a certain threshold, it will definitely consume your focus. So you want to be mindful as to what that actually means. What's that figure? How are you going to know when you've arrived? You see, so, if you think, oh yeah, money is not all that. If you are always thinking about enjoying traveling, enjoying nice clothes, nice watches, nice experiences, then money is a motivation for you. If you're constantly drawing up long-term income projections, you are motivated by money, my friend. To you, the more lucrative a product offering, the better. And, the impact that it has on society is of lesser importance. You just want to see how much profit am I going to make from selling my coaching, my consulting, my training, my information, my expertise. Then you're motivated by money. So you better be honest with yourself. Instead of trying to be Mother Teresa and pretend that money is not valuable to you when it is, you might as well give yourself a loftier goal if money is what motivated you in the first place. Some people are motivated by recognition and influence. People like myself, when I started my business, it was so I can be a role model to all those other African kids that didn't have a role model. That was for recognition and influence. And some people want to be the next Steve Jobs or Elon Musk, people who influence not only the business world, but an entire culture. What comes to mind when I say 1,000 songs in your pocket? That changed the culture of music, and that was the iPod. If you've always dreamed in standing, of standing in front of a crowd on a podium, entrepreneurship is a way to do that, provided you hit the big numbers. And once you do, you have plenty of opportunities to make a name for yourself. People will want to interview you. People want to write books with you, put you on their podcast, all of that stuff, so you can give them advice and on how you made it. And maybe you've forgotten, but there's signs that recognition and influence are the chief importance to you. Maybe you find yourself constantly wondering what other people think about your business and your ideas. You're probably seeking advice and mentorship from other successful entrepreneurs, because for you, it's important for you to be seen amongst those that are already successful. Or maybe you dream to be seen in the media, presenting a TED talk, telling people about your story and being interviewed in major media. Maybe recognition and influence is your idea of what a successful business is. Are you doing that right now? Maybe you're motivated by making the world a better place. I don't know. Because some people just dream of improving the world, making it better. And in fact, if you want to think like an entrepreneur, this is where your head should be. And it would actually guide you, into finding that thing where you can solve world big problems, global problems, or maybe just become a philanthropist or create a product or service that actually solves a major problem for the world. And perhaps you just want to become a voice of change, through the business that you're creating. I mean, entrepreneurship can give you an avenue through which you can actually spot something amiss in the world and find a solution for it. That's what we get paid for. Solving problems. And maybe there's signs you've maybe forgotten that your chief, reason for being in business was to solve world problems. Maybe you prioritize products that have a positive impact on the world over ones that are likely to just give you bigger profits. Maybe you're dreaming about maybe some tangible improvement in people's quality of life, because you create something that makes people's lives better. And I must say, if you're not making anybody else's life better, you're wasting your time. Or maybe you obsess over important issues in the world, and your product fixes that. Some people go into entrepreneurship just to create time for themselves. If you're working in a 9-to-5, you don't have time to do what you love. And one of the most underrated benefits of being an entrepreneur is time. Because, of course, I mean, at first it's not true because you're doing 90 hours when you could have just been doing 9 hours. When you start your business, time is what you have the least of. But when you reach a certain financial threshold, and you start pulling back from your business, you now start working on your business instead of in your business, and you actually allow other people to run it. And by the way, a business is a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. So if you're still working in your business, you don't have a business. So you want to free up time to do things that you find enjoyable and important. And you get to choose how do you spend this time rather than allow other people to dictate what you're going to be doing with your time. So there's a few signs that actually show you that time is of chief importance to you. You probably dream about relaxing on an easy chair with a glass of lemonade or whiskey like I do and not care, whether it's a weekday or not. Or maybe you crave a future where you can actually ignore all your emails for weeks and without having to worry whether you still have a business or not. And you think mostly about how you can actually carve out more time to do stuff that you love with your family and your loved ones. And speaking of doing stuff with your loved ones, freedom is so important. So many people don't know that you can have time and freedom all at the same time. Because entrepreneurship leads you to success, and success leads to money, and money leads to freedom. Freedom means choices. And when you've got infinite resources at your disposal, it's like the skeleton key that actually unlocks the world. There's nowhere you can't go, nothing you can't do, no one you can't meet, nothing you can't eat. Especially for me, as a hungry kid from Africa, when you can do whatever you want to do and still have time to go and exercise so you're not accumulating all that fat. So once you take the next plane to Iceland or, go and watch your favorite band playing in Djibouti or go to the Caribbean on a yacht, just call up your agent and get it organized and just pay the money that needs to be done. Because at the end of the day, like I say, you notice all these examples of, the difference between what success is. So find out what actually motivates you and understand that. And once you understand that, do the things that you will bring you closer to your goals. Because does it really matter what motivates you to be an entrepreneur? Yes. All right. Entrepreneurship is a grind. You're going to be doing this 24/7. So whatever you can, hold on to that gives you motivation. That's the key to go through all the difficult times that you're going to go through in order for you to achieve the success that you want. So if you value time, like I mentioned, think about the extra hours each day that you could have with your family, doing all the things that you think are meaningful, if you're able to succeed as an entrepreneur. if it's making the world a better place, is of chief importance to you, think of all the people that you'll be helping when you become successful. If love what you do, think about enjoying every single work day, as a motivation to keep doing what you're doing. In the meantime, I really want you to really be mindful of what you're taking in and how you define your success. We've got a few tips for entrepreneurs, but don't forget that your journey will not be an overnight one, okay? Keep your eyes on the prize and remember why you took this path to begin with. Persistence will pay off eventually, and as long as you remember what you're fighting for, all right? I want you to viscerally have this tattooed somewhere. There is no single recipe for, success as a coach, consultant, or small to medium business, because the ingredients for success are different for each and every person. I want you to be able to define your own path and follow it like your life depends on it, because it does. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, let's continue the conversation in the Live Long Digital community. Become a Live Long Digital community member today. This community is for ambitious entrepreneurs and small business owners with the drive to take control of the future of their businesses and achieve huge success without stress and overwhelm. As you heard, Prosper can help you by teaching you marketing strategies that work. So look no further than the Live Long Digital community of entrepreneurs and highly successful business owners. Join our community today. Find us on www.community.livelongdigital.com.au. Network with other driven entrepreneurs and find the expert guidance you need to take your business to the next level. www.community.livelongdigital.com.au